Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Hyde, and I wanted to put this video together for families that are interested in the College Credit Plus program for our next school year. We had our meeting, of course, postponed because of the snow day, so I wanted to get this information to you as quickly as possible. And you can watch it at your convenience, and don't hesitate to uh, call in or email either myself or Mrs. Wiley if you have any follow-up questions for anything that I'll cover here in this video. This will be the same information that I would have covered at that counseling session. It's really just to provide you with some overview of the program and give you some of the ins and outs of how this works. So a brief overview of College Credit Plus is that it is a program for 7th through 12th grade students that the state of Ohio sponsors, and it it uses state funds to cover the cost of taking dual enrollment college courses. And there's pros and cons to this, but the obvious pro is that you have the ability to take some college classes, mostly online, and you'll get high school credit for those. So it'll count towards your uh, high school diploma, but it will also go in your college transcript. Um, so that has the at least possibility of lowering some college expenses in the future. Where I'm at here on the website is, of course, ccsbarnes.com. If you hover over the academic tab, you will see a page called College Credit Plus. We have a few links, and I'll go through these. This first one is a link to the Ohio Department of Education's website, where they have their step-by-step process for the CC Plus program. The second link is a PowerPoint that the state put together. It's a little bit dated at this point, but the program hasn't really changed lately. So the information is still relevant to today. Just two notes down here below those links. The first one is that uh, the school is responsible for buying any College Credit Plus textbooks. But if you purchase those, we are not able to reimburse you. So we just have to get your book list. Sometimes the university will send them. Universities all kind of do them in slightly different ways. But the bottom line is we just have to know what textbooks you need, and then we will purchase those books for you. So if you buy them on your own, we are not able to reimburse you. That's just the way the fund works for that. One number you're also going to have to give these universities is the CCS IRN. Our number is 019395. So that's something that you'll need. The last thing we have on our website is a funding approval form. So basically, at the very end of this application process, this is usually in May, you're going to receive notification from the Ohio Department of Education that says, hey, congrats, you've been given X amount of credits, 9 credits, whatever. So what's helpful for me is if you just come in here and type in the student's first and last name, tell me how many credits you received. There are several universities that when they ask for approval, because we have to approve the courses that your students are taking, they will say, does this student have approval to use credits? And if so, how many do they have? So to help me from having to reach out to each family individually and say, hey, how many credits did you get? Because they don't give that number to us. They only message you guys. This just helps us with that. So to keep this moving along, I'm just going to go through these links, and I'm going to start with the Ohio Department of Education dates and information. Click on that link, and you'll come to a website that looks like this. At the top, you have some important dates for the upcoming school year. So this is 23-24. And part of the reason why I wanted to get this video out here on January 26th, this window is about to open up. This here will complete the school counseling requirement. So you will have from February through April 1st to complete these 2 steps. The first one is just to sign up for your OHID account. And then the second one is to apply for funding. And again, that is February through April 1st. When those steps are done, you will receive your funding award notification before May 6th. So scroll down a little bit and you'll see some more specifics on these steps. So again, we see the deadline being April 1st. We have the first step talking about the counseling requirement. Once you've gone through this video and asked us any questions, that will complete the counseling requirement. Step 2 is to apply to the college. So we don't contract with one specific university. Uh, some schools will do that, and they'll say, "Hey, all of your classes have to be through Findlay University, or they all have to be through Cedarville University." We don't have any specific contracts, so you can use any university in Ohio that you want to. This is an Ohio program, so it has to be Ohio. The one thing that I would mention is to think about where you think you're going to go in a few years. Typically, private universities kind of play nicer transferring credits with other private universities, and public schools do the same. Sometimes it can be difficult to take a public, say a community college CC Plus course, and then you figure out, oh, I'm going to go to Cedarville, go to a private university. Those credits typically have a hard time transferring. So you're going to want to make sure you're staying in touch with the university's admissions department and have those conversations about, will this class transfer that I'm interested in, etc. So when you're applying to the college, you're literally contacting the university's admissions department, and you're explaining, hey, I have a student in this grade and we're interested in College Credit Plus, and they will walk you through their admissions process. Each university's is a little bit different. Some of them require different pieces of documentation. We will help out, of course, with anything that you guys need to get from us. But again, you're really going through their process. Once you've been accepted to the university, you're going to submit your CC Plus funding application. So again, you see another link here to set up your OHID account. Follow the instructions here. One thing this talks about is summer classes being an option for new families. I tend to think that's a good option. If you're not sure if this is going to be a good fit for you in the summer, of course, there's typically more time. Maybe you just take one class to kind of dip your toe in the water and see how this works for your child. But again, if you apply for funding this spring, it is eligible summer session, fall session, spring session. So summer, fall, spring, you would be eligible to take classes. So you can talk with the university you're interested in to see what classes they are offering. So anyway, you've got the OHID account, and in there you're going to see the application for College Credit Plus funding. They do have a manual that goes through that right here as well. The one thing you're thinking about with applying for CC Plus credits, credits work a little bit differently for high school and college. In high school, a class that is every day all year is called, it's 1 credit. In college, they would call a full class 3 credits. And that's usually, in college, it's not usually an all year class, it's just a semester or a session. So if you just want to take 1 class, you need to apply for 3 credits. If you think I'm going to take maybe 1 class in the fall, 2 classes in the spring, well, you need to apply at least for 9 credits. We'll typically see seniors receive the most, because you don't always receive the credits that you apply for. You may apply for 18 and the state may give you 12. So I don't think it hurts to apply for maybe 3 to 6 more credits than you're planning on using, especially if you are a senior or a junior. and you're jumping in for the first time, you want to take a few classes, you want to make sure that you have enough credits to take the classes that you would like to take. So that's something that you have to think through, and I think that works well when you're working with the university. You need to ask them, hey, help us develop a roadmap here. My kid's a senior. We want to take maybe 2 or 3 classes next year. What classes are available? Okay, I like that class. It's available in the fall. Let's do that in the fall then. And I like these 2 classes. Oh, those are available in the spring. Okay, so that's 1 class in the fall, 2 classes in the spring, and I need to apply for at least 9 credits. So again, discuss that with the admissions counselor at the university you are interested in, and then make sure you apply for the correct amount of credit. So once you've submitted that funding for CC Plus credits, again in May, first week of May, you will receive, talks about it right here in step 4, receive your funding award notification before May 5th. And once you receive that, you're going to go back to the university and you're going to officially register or enroll in those classes that you are interested in taking. The other link, if I go back to our website, was a PowerPoint presentation that I mentioned. There are pros and cons to this system, and I've already covered some of this information, so I will scroll through here somewhat quickly. But again, you can access this whole PowerPoint through our website. I just want to make sure I cover some of the pros and cons. I've already talked about how this is a program for 7th through 12th graders. This talks about the 3 credit hours equaling 1 high school unit that we've already discussed. Talked about the time periods that you can take classes, summer, fall, spring. I will say that for us, scheduling wise, the online classes seem to work best. We've had some students that have had to be on the college campus for maybe a lab or something like that. And just logistically, that gets difficult because there's drive time, they're missing classes. How do we make those up? If the class can be online, we will give the student time here to be on their school device and work on their college course online. So that just seems to logistically work well. You need to, of course, again, be accepted by the university, and they may look at some tests like an ACT, AccuPlacer. Those seem to be the ones that we see the most frequently. Again, universities will determine what will make a student eligible. All right, I already talked about getting entrance to university. Talks about that a little bit more. Colleges have final decision on admission. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. This slide is talking about is one thing you want to be aware of are the requirements to graduate here through Calvary and in Ohio. If you also know what field you're interested in college, obviously it can work really well if you can go to the admissions counselor at the university and say, hey, I'm interested in this major. Well, that major means these are the classes you have to take. Okay, well, there's going to be some general electives that the student's going to have to take for that major. So, what general electives would also fulfill a requirement through Calvary? So it may be, hey, you need a composition English course through your university. Well, you're going to have to take 4 Englishes with us as well. So an English class would make sense, fulfills a requirement for us, fulfills a requirement for them. If you ever took a class that was above and beyond a requirement, we would just convert that to an elective. So it's still useful, but of course, that's just a good conversation to have with either Mrs. Wiley or the university admissions counselor as well. CC Plus is a state-funded program, so they don't fund religious classes, as they would call it. So if you're interested in Cedarville, there are Cedarville classes that you can take through CC Plus, but you're not going to be able to take Bible, or classes that are obviously um, religious, as they would categorize it. Okay, looking at other things, high school GPA will be looked at. Um, One thing to be aware of with this program is these courses will go on both transcripts. I know I mentioned that before, but that can be one of the cons because the reality is um, college classes are different than high school. There will be slides that talk about this more later, but basically, um, there's typically more content, less graded work. In high school, you may have greater parent involvement, more opportunities to get items graded, that can help that grade. At college, maybe, hey, here's 2 or 3 chapters, large amount of content, 70, 80 pages, whatever. And you have to do it on your own. Your parents really aren't involved. And, you're going to take a few assessments and that will make up your grade. Well, if you're not ready for that type of an environment, you jump into this too soon. I think juniors and seniors, this works well for. If you get lower than juniors or seniors, you just have to be very sure that the student is prepared for that type of an environment and can be successful in it. Because if you do poorly, that will follow you around. You'll have possibly a low score on your high school transcript, which obviously hurt your GPA. That will also then be on your college transcript as well. So you just want to make sure the student is ready and they understand what the environment is going to be like, and they're really self-motivated, a self-starter. They're good at meeting deadlines and things like that. All right, I'm going to keep going through here. I already talked about that process. We've already talked about how to apply for funding. That was in the last portion that I went through those steps on the website. Okay, just hit on some of this so you can see some more detail. This talks about assessments, generally fewer in college, covering more material. General rules, college, maybe 2 to 3 hours of homework for every hour spent in class, so several hours a day. So again, you think about your students' schedule. Do they have the time to dedicate to this to make sure that it's successful? High school differences in knowledge acquisition. So a lot of information in class. Out of class work is more minimal. College is slightly different, requires a higher amount of out of class work or research. And then just what we mentioned before, fewer chances for assessment for college. So, you get behind a few uh, assignments and it can be difficult to catch back up. Talked about parent role as well. For the universities, they're going to communicate with the child because they're going to view them as college students, and that's something to be aware of. Um, when a student's name pops up on a college course roster, they don't know your kid's a ninth grader or a 10th or 11th or 12th grader, just a name on a roster. So you're going to be treated like that. So you want to be aware also of the content. Of course, certain public universities may be teaching worldview that we would disagree with. If a student's in there, uh, too soon, is that a good environment for them? That's a question that you'll have to think through as well. But anyway, the parent role is definitely different. And you've got FERPA to deal with there. Benefits, like we already talked about, you can you can somewhat get ahead and get some college credits under your belt before you actually graduate high school. Possible saving on tuition, textbook costs. One thing I would say to be aware of is block tuition scheduling. One thing you need to check with your university is say, hey, let's map out what this whole college roadmap looks like if we take these college classes, because I have seen some block tuition that says, hey, here's your standard tuition rate, and these classes are only available certain times of the year. So, hey, even though you took 4 or 5 classes in high school, that's great, but you're still taking 4 years and you're still going to pay the same amount. So, sometimes, depending on how the college runs their tuition billing, you're not actually saving money, even though you took classes early. You may have a slightly lower workload once you're in college, but that's, of course, going to depend on the college. Now, if the university has a you can graduate in 3 years program, well, if you're chopping a whole year off, then yeah, you'll be saving. But a lot of times, you still have to have that 4th year. So that's a conversation with that college admissions officer to map out what does each year look like if I take these courses in high school. So that's something that you want to be aware of. I've already talked about the consequences of underperforming, um, grades on your transcripts forever, uh, possible reimbursement for tuition, could be dismissed by a college, could be placed in academic probation, uh, could impact financial matters, certainly from the standpoint of applying for scholarships. Does a university, if a student goes in and just totally bombs everything, does a university want to bring them in as college students, or do they look at that and go, man, this child was not a great fit for us, and they move to the next candidate? Expenses. So private colleges, a small cost per credit may be charged. And that just, again, that all depends on the university that you're working with. Typically, we see a great percentage of the tuition costs are covered by CC Plus if you've received the credits required to take the class. So again, if you receive 3 credits and you're trying to take 3 classes, no, that's not enough. You would need 9 credits to take 3 classes. So yeah, you're going to pay a lot out of pocket. Typically, if you get 6 credits, which would be 2 classes, and you're taking 2 classes, we see those fees are covered. You're not paying a lot out of pocket. Okay, talks about just possible expenses there, support services between high school guidance and university guidance. OSHA academic eligibility would be impacted because these grades will report on their high school transcript. And talking about transferring credits, like I mentioned before, you really got to talk to the specific university that you're thinking about going. If I know I'm going to a place like Cedarville or any other private university or college, but I'm taking public credits or vice versa, I want to make sure I've had that conversation of will these credits transferred before I officially sign up for those classes. And these last few slides are just talking about the being college ready. Again, kind of talked about it before. You just have to be sure that your child understands, or that your student understands, that this is a very different system than what they're used to with their high school courses. There will be the work will be different. It will take longer, and they have to be a self-motivated, self-starter type of person. For us at the school, we have no knowledge of these courses as far as I don't know what their assignments are. I don't know what's due when. That's between the student and their university professor. So we're not, working over their shoulder with the constant reminders. Hey, are you keeping up on that? You should be doing that. We do that for their high school courses, and that's just kind of what they're used to. So if they enter this environment and they're not ready to be that self-starter, I'm going to learn the material on my own. There's a lot of reading. There's typically lectures that you're watching. You're reading large amounts of material and doing assignments from that. If that's a big challenge, again, you may just want to dip your toe in the water, try a class, maybe in the summer, see how it goes, and make sure that's a good transition before you just dump in with the workload that's way too high, and it ends up being a negative thing for you in the end. So that is an overview of the College Credit Plus program. Like I said before, myself and Mrs. Wiley are available to answer questions that you have for us. My email is rhyde@calvarybellfountain.org, and Mrs. Wiley's is jwiley@calvarybellfountain.org. There's also information in the app. This video will be in the app under the guidance section. So don't hesitate to reach out so we can clarify anything further for you. Thanks.